Okay, so I'm going to try to talk about feminism in 10 minutes. Wish me luck. So I like to start off all my talks, particularly when we talk about something as invested as feminism, by asking, who in this room considers themselves to be a feminist? Yes! So those of you who did not raise your hand, that's totally fine. I promise you I am not going to try to convert you to feminism. It's going to happen anyway. So feminism is a little contentious, right? Even the current Oxford Dictionary version of feminism that talks about equality between the sexes, it's really actually very controversial because we live in a new world. And so we decided at the Ms. Foundation that we were going to ask some questions about this and get to the bottom of why people either consider themselves to be a feminist or not, and try to paint a better picture of this. You see, feminism has not always had a good name. I'm sure this surprises everyone in the room. Much like the idea of suffragettes, there has been a lot of stereotypes. You had the man-hater, you've had the hairy feminist, which I'm personally okay with hairy feminists, by the way. See you guys later at drinks. So even women and the stereotypes against women who are feminists, because, you know, I don't need feminism, I don't feel like I need entitlements and be privileged. And my personal favorite, Daria, as you guys can see, is my style inspiration for the day. And then this happened. It's okay, you can cheer for Beyonce, it's totally fine. And suddenly, feminism became pop culture, and it was cool to be a feminist. But people also said I still don't consider myself to be a feminist. It's a word. And it's particularly happened to me. In fact, confession time, right before I took the job with the Ms. Foundation, I went up to my boss before she gave me my offer letter, smart, and said, hey, so you know I don't consider myself to be a feminist. That's all right. You can boo me, it's fine. But people told me as I asked them, I consider myself to be a black feminist, a womanist, a humanist, and a number of other different types of feminists, right? Right? Which you can also consider yourself to be, but not a feminist. So we asked, and my personal favorite, Whovian feminist. Yeah, thanks nerds, appreciate you. You know who you are. So we asked, what does a feminist look like? And so my boss got this crazy idea to give me some money and let me go on free range and ask that question. And one of my proudest moments, which Danielle Moody Mills was actually a part of it, as was Aisha Moody Mills and a number of people in this room, of this incredible project that we took $20,000, 42 interviews, 6 videos, a lot of vodka, and a great hashtag called MyFeminismIs. And this is what we got.
My feminism is a form of faith.
Feminism is a question, and the question is, what truths are missing here?
The act of creating who I was, as someone who was born female, was very much a feminist act.
It was easy for me to be like, yes, I'm a feminist. It wasn't like a hard thing for me to say.
If women aren't free, I can never be free.
In the 60s and 70s, there was one way to express your feminism. And I think today, there are just as many ways as there are women.
What defines me as a feminist is this core belief that all individuals, men, women, and anybody who defines themselves in between, should have access to the social, political, and economic equality that this world presents to us.
So there's 2 things we did with this video. One, we changed the definition of feminism. We decided it was the social, political, and economic equality of all genders. We one day hope that gender will have nothing to do with it and will be the social, political, and economic equality of all people. The other thing we did is we invited people to tell us things we knew we may not like. In fact, we had one interviewee who's in this room right now, who I will not mention, who told me, look, I am going to say I didn't consider myself a feminist because I consider that to be for middle-aged white women. And it's very true, which is the reason why you have the idea of a womanist and a feminist, because there were stereotypes that feminism was exclusive. It was excluded with the image. And so what we did with this video is we tried to paint a picture of true feminism. The interviewees were from 17 to 81, which is how old Gloria Steinem was at the time. Jamie, who you saw in there, who's 17, that was a young lady who said, it was easy for me to decide that I was a feminist. I love the way her head shakes. It makes me all excited. And we also made sure that we started an authentic conversation. In fact, we didn't even give the questions to the people being interviewed until they walked in the door, no matter how much they nagged us. And so the first 31 days, what happened? Well, we had over half a dozen mainstream traditional outlets cover the campaign. We had over 20 organizational partners, 12,500 tweets from 5,500 people, reaching over 135 million people, and 0 ad buys. And that's just Twitter. We had over tens of thousands of video views because what we wanted to do was create a conversation. We didn't want to have a lecture. We didn't want to explain to people, this is why you're wrong. We wanted people to explain, this is how feminism, a very ideological thing, affected them in their lives. And so what made this so successful? We had a conversation, not a lecture. We had authentic conversations where we knew people were going to say, hey, I never thought this was for me. And that was okay, because we focused more on the definition and less on the title of feminism to bring people to the table so we can start a conversation. We had proactive inclusion. We spent weeks making sure that the guest list for those interviews was as broad as possible and brought in as many perspectives as we possibly could. And then those who couldn't make it, we sent them shirts and we invited them to also send in their pictures and give us their quotes, because we knew how important it was to paint a real picture. And then we had partner engagement. So we involved organizations like Planned Parenthood. We involved organizations like feministing.com. And we made sure that we were bringing in all waves of feminism, not just looking at what had been the history of second wave feminism. And then we did what I like to call collaborative amplification. The campaign didn't stop there. In fact, the campaign is still going on now. We have Feminist Fridays where we invite people on Twitter to talk about it. We have had articles come out about trans feminism. We have had 31 Days of Feminism where we have specifically focused on bringing grassroots women from the ground to tell us how their feminism manifests in the work they're doing in social justice. We have gone through with ebony.com and talked about black men and feminism, which was a great conversation. Let's Talk Feminism, which is a panel series we're doing at the Brooklyn Historical Society with the national folks like Roxanne Gay coming and having real conversations about what it means to be a feminist. We had the F-Word video contest with She Knows and the Feminist Celebrity of the Year, which is fun, but it also still goes to the pop culture aspect. And then we have what we call the Op-Ed Project at the Ms. Foundation, where we took 20 of our grantees and we work specifically with the Op-Ed Project to help them find their voice in media to continue the narrative of painting the picture. And over the last 9 months, they've put out at least 52 op-eds out of that 20-person cohort. And that paints a stronger picture about what it looks like on the ground. Because what we learned is magical things can happen when you have collaboration. For instance, when you put Lovey Ajayi together with Matt McGorry on the floor with Gloria Steinem, you have Lovey deciding that she wants to teach Gloria Steinem how to wobble. Wait for it. Because everybody needs to know how to wobble, right? So as I conclude, because I have 45 seconds to go, and I'm very proud of myself for getting feminism in 10 minutes. Is it okay? We want to invite everyone in this room to continue that conversation, because the only way you can disrupt the dominant narrative and break through stereotypes is by opening the table, being inclusive, and saying, hey, look, this is something that means a lot to me, but it means a lot to you. How does that manifest in your life? So If everybody has their cell phone, they can take it out now, and I'd love for you to go to Twitter, or not. You can go to Twitter, and I'd love for you to not only use the Lesbians Who Tech hashtag, but also go and tell us at the Ms. Foundation, what does your feminism look like?